Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And the controversy continues here at the Stage 4 Major. Some significant complaints coming out from the pro players these last 24 hours or so with regard to the monitor situation, that they are not very happy with how the CDL has dealt with here at the Stage 4 Major. Also though, we're going to talk about OpTic Chicago versus Seattle Surge, the rematch from Stage 4 coming up very shortly indeed. Tweet your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always. I greatly appreciate it. It really helps on the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, this, as you guys can see on screen, of course, Photoshop once again. I find these absolutely hilarious, though. The Tiny Terrors at it again, you know, Crowder sitting here like a proud father, right in the middle. This was the series they played yesterday against the Minnesota Rokkr. We didn't get the opportunity to cover last night. Thought this is a cool clip that Crone tweeted out, actually. Like, look at this, right? aBeZy and Simp running around together. Just an absolute, like, honestly, like a menace on the map that any ARs have to deal with. Not the craziest clip in the world, but I just love how in sync they are at all times. That they're flying around here together. And what do you do if you're the Rokkr? They're down 5-4 in this map. They make the comeback. They win this one 6-5. They clutch up. They deliver the ice. And this is just what FaZe do, right? And I think a lot of SMG duos in the league can learn from really watching how aBeZy and Simp play the game together, because it's honestly a sight to behold when these guys are on point, and Rokkr just couldn't handle them in the majority of this series. It was actually in the control that it was the Arcitys show, but game 1 on Garrison Hardpoint, it went the way of FaZe. Simp was like double positive or something pretty ridiculous. They clutch him in a Search and Destroy again here in round 11 on this raid Surge, and well, that pretty much seals the deal for FaZe. They rarely ever lose controls at the present time. They go into the control, they close that one out as well. Arcitys is here like dropping emotes in the middle of a series. It's just too easy for FaZe at the present time, right? And they're back on LAN and nothing really has changed. The other day online, it was actually Rokkr probably put up a better fight then than they did now, so FaZe really went back to the drawing board, looked at exactly how they fell short in that series and came up with the fire here. They 3-0'd them with aplomb, and they will move on to play Toronto Ultra in the winners finals, and FaZe look up their 4th winners bracket final in a row so far this season, which is pretty incredible to see, think about, right? Of course, last stage they actually lost it in the Stage 3 Major, but they still went on to win the tournament. In Stage 2 they won their winners final, but Toronto made that crazy run through losers to go on and win the tournament regardless. But yeah, FaZe sweep Rokkr. I mean, look, what's new with this team? There's not too much more to be said on this squad, as Crone says at this point, running out of things to say about this team. Arcitys has a 1.76 overall. I mean, Simp has a crazy stat in hardpoint, control and search as well. All across the board for these guys. It's just ridiculous, and they are obviously going to be very hard to stop. I can't see them not making the grand finals here, even if Ultra can do a number on them tomorrow, because Ultra, the last time they played FaZe, or later today, sorry, the last time they played FaZe, it's just been 3-2 all across the board for the FaZe guys. So if Ultra can clutch up one time, then this gets very interesting indeed. And the losers bracket is certainly a gauntlet. I would have loved to see, I think, Dallas versus FaZe, because Dallas, you know, the way they're looking right now, they could be potentially another championship contender. So that'd be a great series to see. But FaZe is just going to be so hard to stop, especially when it comes down to a best of 9, and we're talking about controls, search and destroys, all thrown into the mix. Just a very difficult team to deal with, no doubt about it. One team that, of course, needs to make a run today is OpTic Chicago. Yesterday sucked, but today's a new day. GG's Empire, hoping we can be better for the rest of the weekend. They'll certainly need to be. They play Seattle Surge later, and that is not going to be an easy match, right? Because Octane's been dropping numbers. He had a 1.7 in his first series. He had a 1.6 in his next series. If we're looking at trajectory, he's going to drop a 1.5 against OpTic. You know, it's just going to be tough for OpTic to come and deal with this, right? And then again, OpTic are always the team where when they're meant to win, they tend to lose. When they're meant to lose, they somehow tend to win. But not always the case, obviously. But still, one of these weird teams where a lot of people now are thinking, okay, Seattle have a really good chance that maybe they'll even win this series, and maybe OpTic will just come up with a fire, like sometimes they do. So really, really strange stuff. But they did lose to Seattle last week in Stage 4, right? So they were playing the regular Stage 4 regular season, that type of stuff, and they lost to Seattle 3-2, which was a big surprise, and they destroyed Thieves. And now they come out of lost to Dallas Empire, so they're going to have to get a number really over on the Seattle Surge guys to continue to make a run through the lower bracket. And they certainly have a winnable bracket if they do make it through that, but it's going to be difficult to see. As Hangy says right here, 2 convincing wins for LAN on LAN for Seattle. Let's see if they can shake up some of the upper echelon teams as of next. They'll probably still need Octane to be dropping crazy numbers, but still, I mean, it's a scary squad to deal with, no doubt about it. And of course, they're still fighting for their World Championship lives at this point. So if they can make a run, something of that, but I mean, you can imagine a world in which FaZe plays Seattle in the grand finals. I don't think that's particularly likely, but they did beat Paris Legion, of course, yesterday, very convincingly indeed. And this is where the kind of controversy came out from Scrumps, what he was saying initially last night with regard to exactly what's going on with the monitors. Now, we've seen monitor complaints for a number of years at this point, especially you guys might remember CWL Birmingham, I believe it was 2018, with the Iyama monitors that they had. Of course, they were used to playing on the Asus monitors or whatever they'd use at the MLG event in the US, but that event was put on by Insomnia and or like whatever it is, Multiplay Esports or something that actually put on that one at Birmingham, and they used different monitors that, well, let's say they said they were 1 millisecond response time, but maybe it wasn't quite like that. So there was certainly some complaints at the time. Now, interestingly, as Scrap says right here, they're actually the same kind of issue is occurring here in a LAN environment, which is somewhat remarkable to me. The fact that they use all these monitors that I'm pretty sure the CDL delivers all the monitors that they use for the online stuff, and now they come to the event and they're using some equipment that they haven't got the opportunity to use at home. Now, if you're a pro player playing at the highest level, playing at, 8 hours plus a day, every single day on the equipment that you use at home that the CDL maybe has provided, and now you go to LAN and you can't use the same thing, is that going to throw off your game to some degree? Now, it is interesting that I suppose you can look at a lot of the results so far and say most of the teams have pretty much played as you would expect them to, so it's not like we've had some crazy upsets here. But the Scrap says, no excuse, but man has been practicing all year on an ASUS monitor and using an optical cable. We get to the event and we cannot use our own optical cables for some reason, and we are playing on Omen monitors. Absolutely a joke, he says. And well, he continues here as Clacer says in reply, "Did you expect anything else, my brother?" Right, like the CDL just always tend to get up to this type of stuff, and I do feel for the pros in this sense, right? Like, I don't really understand how, if they've provided this equipment, right, for them to use in the online stuff, then they come to LAN, they're using different stuff. Like, I don't see how that's acceptable, right? And I can understand Scrap's kind of complaining about this. Interesting to me that we don't see this, we don't see these complaints come out from the teams that have won so far. I'm kind of surprised we didn't hear about this already, but the teams that win never tend to say this stuff, and I suppose you can certainly look at it from the angle that the teams that lose, that's when they start coming out with this stuff, and Scraps does reiterate the fact that, like, not an excuse they outplayed us today, straight up simple, no excuse, you helmets, but at the end of the day, this is clearly not something the pros want to have to deal with, and they go into quite some detail right here, because as Haggy says, shame the optical cable with the Astro provides much better audio quality as well. They literally sent every CDL player an Asus 240Hz monitor just to use something different at the tournament. Straight up unacceptable, says Parasite, and Slasher comes back in reply. It is very unacceptable, but the community will do what they always do and just say excuses. That being said, I'll take a different monitor, different controller, different whatever for the ability to play online. Online stuff is absolutely fake. I'll play on whatever. Just give me a bit of notice so I can get used to it before pulling up and fighting for it all in lose. I do kind of feel for Scraps and the guys down in losers, right? Slasher as well on the Los Angeles Thieves side. The fact that, okay, you turn up to LAN, you're playing on different equipment, right? And then you've only got one series to play before you're just straight out of the tournament. So obviously a tough situation. I'm defending you, says Slasher. I don't agree with the changes at all. I've always voiced my opinion. Cannot stand ignorant fans. Just saying you are making excuses. Also cannot stand starting in losers or good players not making champs when playing matches online. It is not right. There has also been some discussion about that. I saw a tweet from Parasite as well, saying that maybe, like they did last season, right, when everything had to go online, they were initially planning for only 8 teams to make champs last season, but then they decided, all right, we'll let all 12 go just because it's been a bit of a chaotic season, and yeah, we don't really want to punish any teams that have been in a difficult spot. Now, you could well argue they could do the same thing this season because, of course, we've gone to online and now we're going to LAN, and it's somewhat of a different environment, right? And we see teams like Seattle, pretty much the biggest example so far, that actually look pretty good down here on LAN. Now, whether they'll actually be able to continue their run today is another story. But, Slash is saying players like that, really good players that are on LAN, but they're not going to make champs because they've had such a tough time online. So something maybe to consider. I don't think the CDL will go down that route again because it at least does lend some importance to the league matches that they actually count for something like teams not making champs. But and we still don't really know what the champs format is going to be regardless. But interesting real complaints from the pro players right here. Understandably so. I don't really understand how the CDL manages to get this stuff wrong without actually communicating it to the pro players, right? You'd have thought they could have said to the pros, yeah, okay, we're going to be using these Omen monitors of the major. Here, well, either send them out to you or just like give them the opportunity to say, okay, this is the one we're going to use if you guys want to get one of yourself and practice on it or something like that. That I'm sure the teams would have been able to facilitate. So surprising stuff once again, but who's surprised honestly at this point? This is what OpTic Chicago tweeted out yesterday. Grind doesn't stop. Getting ready for tomorrow. So of course a must-win game for the OpTic guys here on LAN to keep their dreams alive of winning this entire tournament. It's certainly possible through the losers bracket with how it works right now, with no advantage for the team that wins coming from the winner's side, which is probably going to be FaZe, all things considered, as things have gone as of late. And yes, OpTic Chicago versus the Seattle Surge. Really big series, right? Rematch from just a couple of weeks ago now, and obviously a must-win for both of these squads to keep their dreams alive. OpTic of winning the tournament, and Seattle Surge to actually qualify for the World Championship, which is going to be a very difficult thing indeed to do. This is the bracket as it stands. So, winners final, FaZe versus Ultra. That'll be the last matchup of today. But then on the other side of things, we've got 4 games in the round 3 and round 4 of losers. So the round 3 games will occur first, so New York Subliners Mutineers, then Chicago versus Seattle Surge, and then the next round 4 matches will be played, and then the winners final to finish off the day, as you can see right here. So Subliners Mutineers, I think you've got to favour Mutineers really right here. Subliners got 3-0 by the Rokkr just the other day, and Rokkr didn't exactly look great up against FaZe, so So I don't think Subliners are going to be able to put too much together here with decimating their squad. Just seems like they had a tough time the other day. Then OpTic plays Surge. I genuinely do not know how to call this series, because I think that OpTic, like, I would be surprised. OpTic tend to do this thing where they might lose in winners at some point, which they tend to do, but then they'll drop down to losers and make something of a run. So I expect OpTic to make some sort of run here, and I think that if they do come up against the Minnesota Rokkr, they could well have a good go there. Then they'll end up playing in maybe Empire, maybe Florida, depending on how that goes, and then of course they'll play, if they do win all of those series, which is a tough ask, then they'll play the loser of Ultra versus FaZe. So, you know, to me, I think that OpTic are going to find a gear here. They're going to get through this series. I think that Seattle have been very reliant on Octane just going off, and I can't see Octane dropping another like 1.5. I think there's going to be some sort of regression to the mean. Maybe he drops a 1.2 or something. Probably a lot to prove, but at the same time, I'm not sure the slang from the rest of the guys on the team has been quite enough. So I think that OpTic will find a way through this series. I don't think it'll be easy. It might be a 3-2, 3-1, something like that. Then Empire versus of course, though, well, I'm going to say they're going to be playing Florida. I think that Empire can win this one. They beat them just the other day to actually qualify for the winners bracket for the major. They've looked great so far on land, so I think that Empire should take that one. And then I'm going to say Chicago get through Rokkr as well. Like, quite often OpTic, if they do get a little bit of a run in the loser side, they'll win a couple of series before they'll then, at least in my bracket, they'll then match up again against the Dallas Empire on the championship Sunday. And of course, that's a rematch we all want to see. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to happen, but maybe a little bit of wishful thinking on my end. Intrigued to get your thoughts in the comment section below. I suppose just to mention the final series as well before we finish off, Ultra versus Atlanta FaZe. It's well, it's tough to see past Atlanta FaZe, no doubt about that. But the last two times, as I say, these guys have played each other, it's been a 3-2 to FaZe, and it's very difficult not to say exactly the same thing this time around. Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. Really upside the YouTube algorithm that you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care, and I will see you next time.